Thank you for watching. This is Shakaama from Shakaama Live at shakaama.wordpress.com. Your host, Kevin Cardinale. This is just a rant about game developers and black people. Now, before I get into the rant, let me give you some numbers, some figures, some facts. Black people per capita spend the longest time watching TV, the longest time on the internet. They of the black people who have a computer, they all have internet. They play games the longest at a sitting. They surf the internet the longest at a sitting. But they are completely ignored by game developers. Completely. To such a degree that it is blatantly obvious in certain instances. Now, historically speaking, if you want to get into Middle Ages, if you want to get into the medieval period, the Renaissance period, black people were actually in Europe. Did you know that? Wow. Black people have been in Europe since the turn of the millennium, the, the calendar, the entire calendar. We ruled Spain, Italy, uh, but it's not in terms of what it is today. We call it Spain and Italy today. Back then it was Madrid, Rome, Barcelona. It wasn't a whole country. We conquered parts of Southern Europe, and we stayed there a very long time. It was because of us that we taught you how to get rid of the Black Plague, because you were throwing your poop on top of each other. And we said, oh, maybe you should not throw the poop on top of each other. That whole gentleman throwing his jacket in the street for the lady to walk over, it was for poop. It wasn't for mud. It was for poop. Okay? So, historically, factually speaking, black people have been in Europe forever. Huh? It was part of the thing to try and eradicate their presence. There are actually a lot of famous paintings for people who actually collect art of black people, along with the whole voluptuous Venus de Milo type of women. There are tons of those paintings. But through the advent of the United States and the whole notion that white is superior, and I understand what that is about. That's about trying to make sure that you are gaining uh, monetary gain from a labor force for free or for very cheaply. And another way to do that is through psychological warfare, and that is to say, oh, we're superior, you're inferior. So what we have going on here should be like this, ought to be like this. Okay, we're in a completely different era right now. You need to throw away the whole white is right thing. Let's go back to factual historical events. The facts are, in Southern Europe, black people were all over it. Black people did visit the courts of England. There's well documented proof. Black people did travel to the United States before Christopher Columbus and the Vikings. Black people, I know through your terrible false history about white superiority, you think that Africans lived in huts and had mud floors and walked around with bows and arrows and spears. But now, through honest archaeologists, we have come to realize that black people actually traded steel to Europe and produced guns And in fact, there was a trade agreement between Europe and Africa to such a degree that millions of tons of guns were transports traded yearly. But of course, that doesn't coincide with the whole might is right thing and that black people are in huts and stuff. No. White people couldn't have conquered all of Africa because they died. Lions and tigers and bears and what have you would maul them and they couldn't hang. Anyway, let's get on to the gaming part. So, the gaming part is that you're trying to propagate this whole might is right thing. That I mean, white is right thing. That the white people were the only people in the medieval times. That the white people were the only times there in the Roman times. There were superstar, hold your hats, black gladiators. There were black kings and queens, bishops, popes, black, African. Yeah, can you imagine? But if you took the time to actually go and do just a little bit of research, you would figure that out. Then I could have a black character, and I wouldn't have to be walking around as a white guy, or even worse, a white girl, doing stuff, and people saying, "Yeah, Lord Henry, blah blah blah," or "Hey, come over here." What's a terrible white name? Johnny, whatever. you know, it doesn't have to be Jamal or Hakeem or something crazy, but I would like to play a black character. And then I was talking about this online one day, and a girl said, "Well, how do you think I feel?" I'm like, "There's two girls playing games. There are millions of black boys playing games. You don't ruin an entire genre." Oh, there were women fighters. Name them. And you don't progress as a society if you put your women on the front lines. You don't. You just don't. And I'm not saying that the woman has to be the only person to nurture a child, but she has to have the children. Men can't have the children, so she has to have the children. She's not going to really have children if she's on the front line dying. That was one of the greatest human achievements in the history of man, to set women aside so that they could nurture the family and keep the family up at the home front. Anyway, the rant is about the lack of black characters in games. Understand, if you do your market research, that the black people are the ones who are playing your stuff the most, and they're playing it the longest, and they're playing the most complete, and they're talking about it to their friends, and they're promoting it to their friends. But you want to only have white people in your game. You know what? That's fine. Why don't you just put white only on the front of your game box? That way I know not to buy it. Because a lot of times you don't know what kind of experience a black person is going to get until the black person actually plays it, and they're like, "Oh, it's another one of these. Oh, it's you have to be play a white girl, white 13-year-old girl who beats up people with a giant sword." Because no, it's not that 90% of the gaming community is uh, boys ages 13 to 27. God forbid you should stray to your play to your strong points. The Republicans seem to understand it. The Democrats seem to understand it. Anyway, thank you, and that's my rant.